Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Apothecary and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here for a Gush series review for Elements of Cadence. This is a duology by Rebecca Ross. I love this duology so much and I felt like the duology format was the perfect format for these books. It was just so well done. Book 1 is A River Enchanted. This one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Book 2 is A Fire Endless, and I also gave that 5 out of 5 stars. So I think that equals out to 5 stars for the duology as a whole. I'll talk about my individual ratings in just a minute, but first I want to give you guys kind of a spoiler-free bird's eye view of the duology, and then we'll get into a little bit spoiler-free summary of book 1, A River Enchanted. Enter the Isle of Cadence. This is a Scottish-inspired fantasy brimming with enemies to lovers, magic and spirits, and a captivating mystery. Book 1, A River Enchanted, starts with a letter in an ominous journey across dark waters. 10 years after being sent away to the mainland to become a bard, Jack Tamerlane is summoned home to Cadence. Girls are going missing from the island, and Adara, his childhood nemesis, and the future leader of the clan, believes that Jack is the only one who can find them. So this duology is filled with unforgettable characters, thrilling plots, and a lush folklore-inspired world, and I loved everything about it. Even if it wasn't Scottish lore inspired, I would have still loved it just as much as I did. But the Scottish lore just added to it. So for A River Enchanted book 1, from the very first chapter, I was sucked in by the atmospheric writing of Rebecca Ross's writing. Ross's characters felt both realistic and magical, full of life and emotion, and they were always demanding my full attention. I could not turn away from these characters. The atmosphere was just perfect. You felt that atmosphere so much. And that's where, at least for me, the magic truly lied in that atmosphere in A River Enchanted. Our plot and our characters were dynamic. It had an incredible ending. I read that ending, I said, wow, that is an amazing ending. You could tell by reading this writing that Rebecca Ross thought about this book for a long time. She thought through every little detail in this book. I would not change a single thing about A River Enchanted. I read A River Enchanted last year in 2023, and it tied for 3rd place in my favorite books of the year. This was one of my top 4 reads out of 110 books I read in 2023. That tells you just a little bit about how much I love this book, because I read some amazing books last year. A Fire Endless, I also gave 5 out of 5 stars. This is the second book in that duology, and my favorite way to describe A Fire Endless, the duology as a whole really, but especially in A Fire Endless, is if Game of Thrones were a romance, then you would get A Fire Endless and the Elements of Cadence series. It had that lore and that grit and that world building that we get in a Song of Ice and Fire series, but with this incredibly romantic feel to it, incredibly magical feel to it. It's kind of like a less grittier version of the Game of Thrones. I loved A Fire Endless, as you can tell, and as you can see by my rating of 5 out of 5 stars, but not quite as much as book 1. Book 1 just had a little smidge more of that magical feel to me that just, I completely got swept away in that. I loved book 2, A Fire Endless. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. I was sucked into that story, but just something about that first book just felt so magical to me. Our CAWPILE rating for A Fire Endless. Now, I started my CAWPILE ratings after I read A River Enchanted, so I don't have my CAWPILE ratings for that. However, I do have a full review of that on my website, which I'll link down here below. Our CAWPILE ratings for A Fire Endless. For characters, I gave an 8.5. Atmosphere and setting was a 10 out of 10. Y'all, Rebecca Ross is a magician, a master at atmosphere and setting writing. Writing style, I gave a 9 out of 10. Plot was an 8.5 out of 10. Intrigue was a 9. Logic and relationships, 9.5 out of 10. And enjoyment was a 9.5 out of 10. That gives us a total of 64 divided by 7, which gives us a 9.14 and a 5 out of 5 star ratings. And so far this year in 2024, this is tied with, I think, like 3 or 4 other books as my top rated read in 2024. So highly recommend Elements of Cadence Duology by Rebecca Ross. If you love atmospheric writing, if you love to feel the magic in the writing, feel the romance in that writing, feel the suspense, you don't know what's gonna happen, where, to who, feel the, just be able to get to know some of these really amazing characters, I highly recommend Elements of Cadence Duology by Rebecca Ross, starting with A River Enchanted and closing out with A Fire Endless. Rebecca Ross has become an auto-buy author for me. I can't wait to read all of her other works. I have Sisters of Swords and Songs, also by Rebecca Ross. I picked this one up before I read this duology. I didn't even realize when I was reading A River Enchanted that this is the same author. For some reason, it didn't click in my head. So I've been dying to get to this one ever since I picked it up because that beautiful cover and the summary of it on the back was it just grabbed me just like A River Enchanted did. So I can't wait to get to Sisters of Sword and Song. But there's also another duology, I think it's a YA duology, Divine Rivals, and I forget the other book. But that one I'm dying to get to too. So Rebecca Ross has become an auto-buy author for me. Lifetime fan forever. I love her writing and I can't wait to read more. If you've read Elements of Cadence Duology, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of it? Who was your favorite character? What was your favorite moment? Which book did you like the most? Book 1 or book 2? As always, keep reading and I love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.